Good morning, class, and welcome to week 3. Can you believe we're already in week 3? So, this week, what we're going to be talking about is chapter 3, which is socialization. As some of you have already started reading the chapter and responding to your discussion question, you're going to learn that this is actually one of the, I would say, not funnest, if that's even a word, but one of the better chapters because, again, this is setting up the foundation to the rest of the course. Socialization plays a very, very big role in terms of who we are. So you figure from the moment that you're born, you can't do anything for yourself, right? You're just like a little blob, a little human blob, and you're caretakers, your mom, your dad, your grandparent, a different caregiver that's bringing you up. They have to change your diaper, they have to feed you, they teach you how to talk, they tell you what to do, what not to do. You remember when you were little, or you have a younger sibling or know of a younger child, everything goes in the mouth, right? Everything goes in the mouth. And so it's always saying, no, we don't put that in your mouth because you can choke. No, you don't want to put that in your mouth because that's not a good thing to do. Remember one time my child decided it would be fun to take a permanent marker to her entire face, right? Not what we should do, right? So sociology, in terms of socialization, we're not born social beings, right? We're not able to go into the workforce as soon as we're born. We're not able to say, I'm going to run for president. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to get a job, right? It takes time as we learn these different rules of socialization, which really makes sense, right? As we grow older, we learn more, right? The rights and wrong. We're going to talk about it more in education, but when we go to school, we're learning the rules of how to be law-abiding citizens on a daily basis, right? If you have a question, raise your hand. Do not talk when you're not supposed to talk. Follow, the directions on all your assignments, etc., right? So this is what's going to allow us to know what is considered to be normal, what's considered to be ethical, etc. Socialization through the different experiences that we have. So, for example, your first date, right? When you go on your first date or you do anything the first time, chances are you're going to be a little bit nervous, right? So when you go on a date, you might actually take a shower, you might put on, your best outfit, look your best, right? You're going to do your Sunday best because, as we know in this chapter, first impressions are very, very important, right? So depending on our first date, how it goes, we're going to want to either repeat and going on a second date, or if it didn't work out on the first date, chances are if it went well, we're going to want to strive to go on a different date in the future. Whereas if we have, an experience where it was not very positive, then we're not going to want to go on another date, right? We're going to be deterred from that. So from all this exposure of outside stimulus, again, going back to last week, we learn about values, we learn about norms, we learn about these different social rules that we have implemented in society. Now, one of the big things regarding socialization is the whole idea of homeschooling, right? A lot of individuals will say that when you're homeschooled, you're not learning socialization because you're not socializing with other peers. But you're going to notice that there's a difference between socializing and socialization. So you'll notice that I did put a link to a YouTube video in where this female is giving us pretty much the basics rundown of homeschooling in terms of children receiving socialization skills, but as well as where we learn socialization. Because again, socialization is what we pick up, what we learn from those that are around us. Okay, so we are going to be talking about that as well. Now, the other thing when we talk about socialization is the whole idea of nature versus nurture. So are we who we are because of our genetic makeup? Or are we because of, us hanging around a certain individual, right? They say that as we grow to have our friends, we take on different characteristics of who they are. Sometimes you'll hear your parents say, Be who you are. Don't start trying to act like your friends because they are not you, right? Do not take on their persona. So this whole idea of, you know, nurturing and nature. Nurture is the whole idea of love, attention, hugging. You know, they say that the first 24 hours when a baby is born, that child is to have skin on skin contact with the mother or with another human being because of the importance of that nurture. Studies actually show that if a child is not nurtured, skin to skin contact, that there are more chances of some type of learning disability or some type of affection that that child may not receive when they're older because of when they were younger. So we see that there is, this correlation between, wanting to be nurtured. Now, one of the shows that I'm really into right now, and I don't know if you guys watch, but on HBO is the show Ballers. Love it. If you guys have not seen it, it's dealing with, football and athletics, right? So on a couple of episodes ago, one of the football players is a free agent and he's trying to be drafted to different teams, right? Different NFL teams. New Orleans offers him $32 million contract. He's actually playing in Miami and he's trying to figure out where to go. I won't give away the entire story in case you guys are watching. But pretty much what it comes down to is as he went from team to team that was offering him all these contracts, all he kept writing down on the piece of paper is, where is the love? Because to him, it wasn't just about the money. The money plays a big role, and we're going to talk about that as well once we get into that chapter. But he kept just wondering, where is the love in terms of nurture? He is the football player that he is because of the nurture, because of the fans, because of how he's treated. And in return, he feels he's a better player because of that. It's not until the end of the episode where New Orleans Saints put on this big, massive performance and pretty much has a choir coming and singing a song in terms of love, right? Because again, at the end of the day, we all just want to be loved, believe it or not, right? We do not want to be the type of person where no one wants to talk to us, where no one wants to be surrounded. You see television shows, reality television shows, where they take men into the Alaskan frontier to live, to see how long they can live in terms of surviving. And the longest man standing at the very end gets the money. And 9 times out of 10, actually all of them, in fact, always say that they reach a breaking point where all they want to be is nurtured. They want to be loved. They want to talk to another human being. That importance of touching is so important, right? You're going to notice also in the slide, I talk about the effects of isolation, right? Even with the infant monkeys, that Harry Harlow did a study on this, right? The whole idea, again, that we just want someone to cling on to. And why do we? Why is it that we want to feel important, to be to feel loved? When you're a child, everything is mom, 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 dad, 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 grandma, 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 right? And sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, the pulling on the skirt, like, stop touching me so much, right? But again, we need that. We thrive off of that, right? You're going to watch a couple of videos of isolation in terms of extreme isolation and neglect, where children are forced into living habits which are beyond what you guys can imagine, right? Not too long ago, a couple of years back in Salinas, in California, we saw that there was a couple that was standing outside of the local Walmart trying to sell their child off to someone for $20, right? Is that an effect of isolation, neglect, right? A person that's functioning well, right, mentally would say, why on earth would you want to sell your child, right? We're going to go into that as well. So theories of socialization, you're going to learn that there's 3 different ones. So social learning theory, cognitive, and symbolic interactionism. Each one of these are going to look at how socialization occurs. So social learning theory is what we observe and what we model, right? How many times have we seen that commercial on TV and we're like, oh, I want to buy that product because I'm going to look this way, right? Oh gosh, I think it's been almost a decade. Herbal Essence came out with that shampoo commercial, right? Where the girl's in the shower and she's moaning and she's groaning and she's, having a great time in the shower, and you think otherwise. Your mind goes into a dirty place, right? Thinking what she's doing. And then all of a sudden, the camera pans onto her and she's shampooing her hair because it's just this amazing shampoo, right? So we observe what we watch, and then we think like, oh, well, if she's having a great time in the shower, why can't I? I'm going to go and buy Herbal Essence, right? Not too long ago, we saw the commercials on the deodorant, right? I'm blanking on which one it is right now, but the deodorant, right, where the guy comes on like Old Spice, the Old Spice commercials, right? Where to the point where we start believing that if we wear this certain deodorant, we're going to attract a certain person, right? We're going to smell good. Therefore, people are going to be like, ooh, look at them. They're going to come in on a white horse, right? And they're going to be on the beach, etc., right? Believe it or not, we may think it's silly, but we give into it, right? Black Friday is another one that we're going to be in class this semester talking about, right? We start seeing the ads, we get so excited, and we're like, you know what? I'm not even going to eat Thanksgiving dinner with my family because I'm going to go shopping. That's social learning theory, right? So from there, we talk about the social learning theory in terms of conditioning. So again, if we go on a good date, and it goes well, we're going to want to go on more dates. If we see that it did not go well, we're going to feel really bad about ourselves and say, you know what? Well, maybe they didn't like me because X, Y, and Z. I'm going to give dating a break. I don't want to go with anyone. I don't want to go with anyone, right? So it's conditioning, right? Whole Pavlov theory, for example, as well, right? The dog salivating. Every time they salivate, they know that they're going to get a treat, right? Then we go on to the cognitive developmental theory, and this is pretty much where we talk about problem solving, decision making. So pretty much when you're little, you're going to learn about Piaget. Now, Piaget's learning theory is that as we grow older, we go through different stages. When we start kindergarten, we're not astrophysicists. We're not doing algebra, geometry, trigonometry, right? There are building blocks that gets us to that step. The majority of the time. Obviously, you always have your outliers, which are your prodigy individuals, right? But we start with, this is the number 1. This is the number 2. And then we build up to it. Now, agents of socialization. That sounds very like James Bondish, right? But what agents of socialization are pretty much similar to the concept of a business agent or an insurance agent. They represent and act on the behalf of the larger society, and socialization can occur outside of these agents, but society relies on them doing most of the socializing. So, for example, who would be agents of socialization? Well, most importantly, the majority of the time, it's your family. Again, your family are the ones that are around you, sometimes the majority of the time, right, for the most part. And so you're hearing what your parents are saying. You're hearing what your mom is saying. You're hearing what your siblings are saying. And based on what you're hearing, chances are you're going to believe that. Because again, who are you not going to believe, right? You're going to believe your parents. They're your parents, right? Pay very close attention right now, especially with what's going on with the election time. Chances are if you're talking about the election, right, and the candidates that are running, chances are there's a very big chance that what your child is hearing, they are going to agree with what you say, and they're going to believe it, right? So just pay attention, because again, kids are like little sponges. They soak everything up so quickly, right? Your peers, as you grow older, you start to learn that mom and dad and your family are not so cool, especially like in junior high, right? And then we turn to our peers. Apparently, our peers know everything in junior high, right? And so we start believing them. That's where the trouble can come in because they do not know the truth entirely themselves, right? But they may pretend they do, but they don't. School again, right? Because we are at school for almost 8 hours a day. The mass media again, and then religion, right? If we practice a particular religion based on what we were brought up with, the norms, the values, right? Say, for example, if you're Catholic, you have the commandments, right? You are going to follow socialization based on what you have learned. And we're going to talk a lot about more once we get into religion. Right? So again, we're going to go into Piaget's theory, talking about the different types of stages that one goes through as we grow up. Next, we'll talk about structural functionalism, structural functional theory, where socialization also teaches the acceptance of existing inequalities in the world. So as we know, all you have to do is turn on the TV, go on the computer, and we see that there are a lot of inequalities in the world, right? Many of you actually wrote your first news reflection on Colin Kaepernick, the quarterback, right, that decided to take a stance and sat down during the national anthem. And a lot of people are very upset, and there's many people that support him as well. I'm actually going to be posting a video pretty much discussing on if our national anthem is outdated because of verses that we don't sing when we do sing the national anthem. So be on the lookout for that one. Right? So conflict theory focuses on socialization, reinforces unequal power, right? So again, conflict theorists would say that Colin Kaepernick did such a great job in terms of taking a stand because there is, right, inequalities that are occurring. And by standing up, by taking a stance, by being a charismatic leader, we'll talk about that as well, right? Social change can result from there. Now, so symbolic interaction theory, they understand human behaviors. Those meanings develop within relationship with others. So symbolic interactionists, we have Cooley, which was very interested in the looking glass. So one thing that is very interesting is that we cannot see ourselves, a reflection of ourselves, unless we're in front of a mirror. Isn't that interesting, right? So when we do that, we have this kind of ability to think what others think about us. We may say over and over and over, I don't care what people think. I don't care what people think. But you know what? We definitely do. The majority of the time it comes down to it I do totally care what other people do. And then we change, right? We change and we put on different masks in front of other people because we don't want to be judged. We don't want to be seen as, well, that person's very full of themselves because they do X, Y, and Z all the time. Must be nice that they can buy stuff on a weekly basis. I wouldn't know what it's like, right? And then in turn, we put on this mask where we're totally acting like a different way. Like, yeah, I know, it's true. Like, I shouldn't have bought that, but it's okay, right? We don't own up to some things because, again, we're being scared of how we're going to be judged, right? And that's one of the things you guys are going to learn that's so important. That's why we are the way we are, because we do freaking care on what people think about us. We do. And again, it's so hard to let go. Why not let go? And why can we not let go of that, right? So we're going to talk about role taking. We're going to talk about generalized other. And then that's going to lead us into verbal and nonverbal communication, right? Nonverbal communication is pretty much being stonewalled, right? Where we're not talking to someone else to make a point, right? Verbal communication is we are trying to get our point, right? I always make the comparison to, say, for example, you're fighting with someone. If I get in a fight with my husband, I don't go into this argument saying, you know what, honey? Christopher, I'm going to let you win this argument. Go for it. Verbal communication, go, right? Chances are when you're in a heated debate and the other person is talking to you and they're going at you, chances are you're not listening to what they're saying. In your head, you're going, wait till it's my turn to talk, and then I'm just going to throw this. It may have happened 20 years ago, but I am sure going to bring it in, right? So the abilities of being able to bring language, right? Language is very, very important in terms of getting our meanings and our messages across, right? Nonverbal communication would be, your body language, your posture, the way you shake someone's hand, what you're wearing. For example, if you're wearing a uniform of some sort, then right off the get-go when you see that person, okay, it's a blue uniform and they're driving around a truck and they're delivering mail, in my head, I automatically know, oh, that must be a post office worker, right? Even if you go overseas to a different country, right? You're going to notice that everyone has their particular uniform so that we can identify who we are, right? That's called nonverbal communication. I don't go up to someone if I'm wearing, say, for example, a firefighter uniform and say, hello, I'm a firefighter. That's kind of given, right? Again, nonverbal communication. Now, the self and socialization, again, sociologists recognize that we create our own designation, the self, right? From the time that we're little, as we grow older, right? We see ourselves different. We approach things different. Our social interactions with certain individuals are different. You're not going to approach your best friend the same way as, say, for example, you would approach an elder, right? Because again, there's different rules that are in place that we don't have to sit there and go like, okay, this person is over the age of 50. So how am I supposed to act and react when I meet this person? Now, A, do I be respectful and I shake their hand and say, good afternoon, sir? Or do I just say, yo, what up, homie? How's it been? I haven't seen you so long, and then give them a fist bump, right? Again, these are already installed of notions that we do not, they're preconcepted, right? We don't sit there and try to analyze everything and going, how am I going to figure out this step today? Okay, now when I wake up this morning, what do I need to do? X, Y, Z. This is how I put the toothpaste on the toothbrush, right? We already know these because, again, from the minute that we're little and as we're growing up, we're being taught how to confront each and every single interaction that we take place, right? It's going to change as we grow older, right? That's one of the things that we're going to talk about in terms of socialization over the life course of pretty much to the point of death, right? Which we hope is later in our lifetime rather than earlier in our lifetime, right? We talk about euthanasia, you talk about hospice care. This summer, we're starting to see that laws are being passed in terms of patients being able to take their own lives by taking a certain medication, right? Again, I'm not going to get into the discussion now, but again, that fits into socialization because based on what you were raised with, a person would say and accept, yes, right, taking your own life is okay when you are to the point where you're in a lot of pain, for example, or based on what you were raised with, you say, no, that goes against everything that I have learned, right? So in a nutshell, 55 slides later, right? That is your introduction to socialization. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the week. Do not forget to do your discussion question this week. There are no news reflections. Again, your study guide is up and running from last week. Those are the questions on your exam. So as you go through your textbook, make sure that you are filling in the blanks. So as you get closer to midterm, you are caught up. Enjoy your week, and I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.